I can't. All right.
There we go. That was crazy. I could see you and I wasn't there and I was here.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. It's cold. It's snowing. We're having like a blustery, snowy day. So I'm dressed for the occasion.
And I
have my hat.
I just took layers off. It actually is our first warm day.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Now I feel better.
It's coming. It's coming your way.
It's coming my way. Well, actually, I'm just psyched. Like any moisture we get.
Oh, yeah.
Any moisture we get, I'm psyched. Okay, so I'm pulling up your form. So topic bullets, corporate, workshop. Okay, I get timid in my approaches and do not consistently reach out. Okay, got it. I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, I'm gonna share this into Facebook.
Close my other screen.
I'm wondering, is it mostly corporate in terms of the question, or is it's just on follow through and?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a direction going towards corporate. I had one corporate workshop that went really well, and I have a couple other leads. But I have to say that timidness to reach back out, because I'm still pulling from people I know. Like, I'm not timid with people I'm not very familiar with. But okay. I have more leads in people that I actually know, and then I don't keep following up. But I have been going back and listening to other teachings, our teachings, and then podcasts and things where you just have to. That 6 to 13 contact is important.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to title it follow up, follow up, follow up.
That's it.
And like, what isn't a... Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Go live. Okay, great. We're live. Welcome, everyone. It's Cate Stillman with Yoga Health Coaching and Yoga Healer, and I'm here with Debbie Snyder, and we are talking about following up. And I think more of it is like an effective process. Like, what's an effective process to follow up? So the situation you just described was that, like, especially with people that are, or especially with leads that you kind of have an acquaintance in common, or it's like a recommendation from somewhere to somewhere else, that can throw you off in follow-up, versus when you're enrolling someone you don't know, it's kind of easier or something like that.
Yes. Yes, it's that engagement, like that second, because once I get them kind of in that enrollment process, then that rapport on the phone and all goes really well. And generally speaking, they sign up. It's my lack of follow through for, a list of nice leads to keep going back in and contacting them again and again, or emailing them, or whatever form of contact.
Yeah. Okay. So there's this really great book that's called The Introvert's Edge.
Okay.
And The Introvert's Edge is a sales book, and The Introvert's Edge. And I'll sort of cut to the chase, although it is a great book, and I do highly recommend it for anyone who's having trouble with an issue like this. Because what I look at with an issue like this is you have, the way I draw it, is like there's a series of things that happen before a sale, and then before someone becomes a member. And this would be true in a corporate contract as much as in one-to-one sales or one-to-many sales. And so by looking at these as stages, and we could even draw this as part of let me just do this, seeing it as part of a bigger stage, where it's like in here is like get to know like get to know the person. Like, so this might be like leads that are coming in. And then you might say that 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it's like after you're on the phone, you could still say there's this stage, this stage, this stage, and this stage. And however many stages a sales process needs.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. So we'll just say, you know, like say this is the first conversation. Like whatever, so my point being, it's like, this could be 10 stages. We can just say like 10 to 4 stages of what needs to happen when before a sale is made. And again, whether it's coming from like an HR person in corporate or just a, you know, Sally's friend next door whose cousin Mary has MS and is like all of a sudden really into health stuff, right? So with the introvert's edge is basically, it says like see all of this as a process. And you keep asking, what does the person need to experience? What do they need to believe? Like, what do they need to do in order to progress to the next stage? Like, what's the experience they need to be having in order to move along? So do you have this mapped out for you?
Not explicitly, but I'm already kind of following you 100%. Like, yes, to have that mapped out in a process of, so really automating some email sequences or something that are going to just, as a contact 1, right on to contact 2, right on to contact 3, you know, kind of keep that more in its process rather than doing one and then dropping the ball.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and this, even Anna and I were talking yesterday about, like, we have a type of session that is it's called a cost of inflammation, where we actually help assess the person's cost of inflammation. So let's say that a cost of inflammation session happens here. We'll just say this is like, for example, this is a cost of inflammation session. And what Anna said to me was like, well, certain ones of these sessions go well and certain ones of these sessions don't go well. So if I look at that from a process perspective, right? Because we're going to just keep going back to like, everything is process. That's the introvert's edge, is like, make sales a systemized process. I'm like, well, if we look at the ones that go well, why did they go well? What did the person already experience? What did the person already believe? What, right? And it's,
Yes.
when we look at it that from that way, now we can say, well, like, oh, those things need to happen here so that they can have a successful cost of inflammation session. So if someone doesn't believe they have an inflammation problem, is it going to be a good cost of inflammation session?
Exactly. Not at all. Not if they're, yeah.
And so the more you see it that way, and again, you guys, like, there's no shortcut.
Right. And so every person is going to be at a different stage within their own mind. Someone might already be realizing, yes, I have this going on, I realize it, and now I'm ready to fix it. Someone else might say, oh no, I don't have that. I'm great. All these other symptoms are unrelated or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have like, okay, after the first conversation, there's A, B, C, D, E, right? Someone might be able to go A, B, C, D, E in like 48 hours. Someone else, it might take a month. So if you're not, if you don't have like a system where you're able to track that, it just makes it seem like sometimes someone's just a great fit, or sometimes someone moves really fast and you don't see. But the more you just stop and say like, wait, well, maybe as to your thinking, or as to what you just said, maybe someone had already done A, B, and C on their own. So you just go through it really, really quickly. Like, sometimes people come to us and they're like, oh my gosh, I have chronic inflammation. I have 3 autoimmune diseases. These are my symptoms. Like, and they already know. And so then they can go.
They know they need your help and they want your help. They've come there.
Yeah. So when they do a cost inflammation session, it's actually really fascinating for them. Like, they're not at all defensive because they're curious about what their habits are costing, and they're curious as to how they might be able to invest in themselves and save money in the future. And that's really the purpose of a cost of inflammation session, is for us all to evaluate, does the course actually financially make sense or not? Because like for us with Body Thrive at this point, like we've just targeted it to like, we're going to help you reverse chronic inflammation.
Yes. Yeah, it's really quite fascinating too. I have a lot of people I speak to that have all of these like modern illnesses and diseases and are taking their pills and different things, so they're all under control. But they don't believe that that has anything in their control for change. Like that they can't be a part of the.
Oh, it's awesome. So this is really good work. And that's really where we start with this is someone gets to know, like someone hears Debbie. So they'll say they hear of Debbie. And that's when they come into your funnel, right? You know, whether they hear from you from social media or from a friend or from an outreach effort that you did, a free talk, et cetera. Okay, so they know you. And so if we look at this, let me just take these numbers out so they're not distracting, because we really don't know how many things need to happen before the sale. And what you're saying is when they come in, what they believe is that what? How would you say what they believe that really would keep them from ever being able to enter?
One main thing is that genetics are genetics. They're predisposed. Everybody in my family has it.
Okay, great. So their belief in this part is genetics, which means in this phase, for them to exit this phase, the core belief that we would want them to have is epigenetics.
Right.
And so we would know that if they didn't understand that, then they probably wouldn't be able to make it much further than that. So then that really gets to like, what do they need to experience in order to shift their belief from genetics, from like a 1960s perspective of how the body works, to like a 2022 perspective of how the body works?
Yes, like, you know, current science, like there's certain, I mean, there's tons of podcasts and new things that are out that are actually, you know, just putting in disbelief our own, you know, ways that we were brought up in our constant now thinking is everything is changing there, you know, neuroplasticity and everything. We are able to, but giving them a direction of, you know, just check this article or this out, or neuroscience is now proving, you know, energy fields are real, or you know, changes within your body.
And let's go back to their symptoms. So what symptoms do they have that you're seeing the most of?
High blood pressure, cholesterol, beginning stages of what they call a little bit of elevated sugar with, you know, insulin kind of resistance. Joint pain, arthritis of some sort.
Great. So their doctors are basically like, you've got all these things. Are they on meds for those things yet or not?
Most of them are on the blood pressure and the cholesterol.
Okay. So that's another thing that we might want to know. This is a mess, but whatever. Okay. So they're on meds. And this is part of like lead gen, right? Is where like you're signaling to them that these symptoms, that there's like maybe more that they could actually take control of with these symptoms. That would be one way of signaling. Another way of signaling is like, these things could get worse. Like if we don't get to the root of these issues, what happens with high blood pressure, what happens with insulin resistance or elevated blood sugar levels, or what happens with chronic pain, is you might really kind of message that way. And that's more of the, you know, like pain pill versus vitamin. Vitamin is like, this stuff is optional, like get to the root of it. You could feel better. That's vitamin. Pain pill is like, if you have chronic pain now and you're 60, like let's fast forward to when you're 75.
Yes, they're already surrendered to, well, that's just what happens to us when we get old. And I'm like, no, it's not what's supposed to happen. Yeah. It can.
Okay, so then I would say that's all like part of your like sort of front end of the funnel marketing strategy. It's like both pain points and vitamins, and you kind of see like what tends to bring in better leads of people that you want to work with, like what works better. And we never know that except for testing it. Right now, I'll just think of examples. Like we stay more on the vitamin side. I'm trying to think of anything we do right now that's really pain pill. We did a campaign in January called Stop the Madness, and it was around inflammation. And that did okay. Like our intermittent fasting stuff's doing better, but I also may have a really different clientele than you do, in terms of already being more educated as to like what the solution is. So that's just something to like, you never know until you figure out what works. And that's where we just keep going back to process. Like the only way we know process is through testing. Because we just keep testing and saying like, oh, that's doing pretty good right now. Great.
Right, what's working, what's not.
Yeah, and what we're finding with like urine therapy, because we're testing a ad on our beginner's guide to urine therapy, which I thought would be like fine organic traffic, meaning like our people share stuff because they love our stuff. And, you know, it's like if you wanted to tell your sister or something or your friend, like we knew that would work because there's not that much stuff out there on it. But we're actually finding like our Facebook ad prices are great on it. And that was just shocking.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's like either that means there's not enough competition in that space, which could very well be the case, or it means that enough people have heard of it that are already identifying that as a vitamin.
Right, okay.
Right. They already know they have an inflammation issue. They already know about urine therapy. And then this is something like, oh, cool, what's Cate doing next? Or like, oh, cool, what is this? Oh, who's Cate? Who knows? But we don't know unless we test.
That's right. Unless you test, unless you keep putting it out there.
At least, yeah. And so like right now I'm making a guide to reverse chronic inflammation that'll also be free, but we will pay for leads in that on Facebook to see like, does that bring in people as well as the intermittent fasting tip sheet? And does it bring in better people because they already know they have a chronic inflammation issue?
Yeah, I'm finding the intermittent fasting, the way coming about it in different approaches and, you know, just doing your eating times rather than all, it's actually attracting some foot traffic and believe it or not, around by me, a lot of energy healing. A lot of like, because I do the Reiki as well, but tapping into that energy field and all that, that's becoming some of a kind of an awareness.
Awesome. So whenever you find that something that's working, it's like, we just double down on stuff that works. And then when sometimes we find things that are like, oh, which reminds me of this, like that's similar enough to that. And then it's like a whole other thing to test. Okay. So we know then that people that have blood pressure issues, high cholesterol, are starting to show some signs of insulin resistance or pain, right? Like to me, this could easily be, if I was going to create content, I like tip sheets and guides and things that someone can just get a sense, but it might be something like how many of, and it's like, you don't want to do this exactly. This is more my
Right.
but it's the idea of like, how many of your symptoms are optional? Something like this. Right? And then you have like high blood pressure, cholesterol, like all these things that are actually symptoms of chronic inflammation. So say this again, this is like social media thing for them to see or print, or it's something you do paid traffic to. And then after that, once they get the thing that where they can see like, oh my gosh, all this stuff is optional. Like, what do you mean? Then you could have, you know, whether it's an email sequence, say there's like 3 emails that, again, like what is the science behind chronic inflammation? That's basically showing that these things are actually reversible, or however you want to say it, with diet and lifestyle. And then say STY, oh geez, spelling. And then say this goes to free one-on-one. Like, let's really figure this out. So where that free one-on-one might go is like, whatever, Say these are the emails. And we can't assume that anyone will do any of these things that's in the funnel, like read the emails.
I think people like to read the quick little tip sheets and things, or, stages of something, 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of.
Yeah,
something.
You just make it easy, right? But you're just starting to introduce
that idea, get people thinking, like get them really, and equating me with those thoughts. So I would say probably your process here of just repeating the same thing so that my brand, whatever, gets associated with these, exactly with this idea of, yes, you can change, you can heal, you can have a more, optimized life.
It reminds me, if you get a chance to listen to that podcast I just recorded with Peter Block on community, he talks about his friend who's a cardiovascular doctor. He puts all of his people have to go through coaching. They all have to go through diet and lifestyle coaching because he doesn't like to do surgery. Groundbreaking, earth-shattering, what? Right. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're thinking that, like, who are the local doctors that are like Peter Block's cardio guy? Who are they in Jersey or the greater, metropolitan New York, Jersey area where you live that are like actually looking for someone to run the coaching stuff? So, starting to network with other doctors that think that way and interviewing these guys and like that kind of thing can also be a really good strategy that just starts to bring this into your social feed, et cetera. And everything, again, in this type of a strategy in terms of the content plan is that these symptoms, you're choosing them. You're choosing to experience these things. You're choosing to be on medication and you are in the seat of the chooser.
Right.
Right. Okay. So once they start to believe in epigenetics, what do they need to believe next?
That they're capable of the whole process of epigenetics, that they actually do have that ability within them. So the belief system.
Okay, great. So I can do it. Great. What do they need to believe next?
That I'm going to support them, that a group support is what would.
Yeah. And I would even say something like, Debbie cares that I succeed. Like, don't underestimate care. In the day and age where everyone's a commodity. They're a commodity with their HMO when they go to the doctor. They're a commodity when they're taking the medication. They've been commoditized. They're a consumer, according to the market. They're a consumer. And you're saying, like, actually, you're a human being and I care.
Right.
So again, all of these are stages. And the more you're process driven, the more you're like, okay, well, the way I show people that I care is I usually do a one-on-one with them. And it's like, what's the problem we're solving? Great. Let's come up with a plan. Just like 100% of my best attention, like we're going to solve this together. And the only way for me to really help you is for you to be in the year-long course. Mm-hmm. So by the time I have that type of conversation with them, they're pretty far down the funnel. Like my conversations around this are usually like really around here. For you, there's probably, because I also have a salesperson, for you, they're going to be in multiple places. So the same thing is going to come, it's going to come through a different types of stages. And so understanding that those are different conversations.
Right.
And they have different agendas.
Yeah,
and the more you have like a 3-point bullet for each agenda, okay, at this stage, we need to take care of this and get to this result. Right. At this stage, we need to take care of that and get to that result.
Right. Which is actually clarifying in my brain process. Actually, I get kind of stumbled up when it comes to creating the content. The writing part isn't really mine, but to follow stages and processes, because I come up with quick ideas and like quick little things really fast, and then to elaborate on them or like really get it down onto paper in an extended version of my thought.
Yeah.
That's where I get stumped up. But going into stages like this, knowing exactly, thinking of where they are in my funnel stages. And if I keep these processes kind of in that stage form.
Yeah, I'll show you how we do it. So like on our, these are the different kinds of agendas we have for our different stages of enrollment. And so for, let's see, healing session. I'll just show you how we've broken it down. So this is why. This is why they're going to do a healing timeline session with me. They're going to clarify their core body goals. Okay. They're going to get a sense of their healing timeline, and they're going to explore the core issues that'll lead to the biggest breakthrough. So whenever any of these sessions are booked with me, whoever's booking them, I don't book them, someone else books them, but once upon a time I did everything, right? So it'd be like, this is why you're going to meet with Cate. You're going to, and they just read it. Clarify your core body goals. Get a sense of your healing timeline. Explore the core issues that'll lead to your biggest breakthroughs. Then they get on the session with me. Hi, Joanne. We're here to clarify your body goals. Get a sense of your healing timeline. Explore the core issues that'll lead to your biggest breakthrough. Are you in agreement that this is our agenda? Yes. Okay, great. Let's start. So there's very much a set reason we're doing a specific type of conversation, and we keep reiterating that so they understand the value.
Exactly. Okay. Right.
And so then I'm really clear what my job is. Like I have 3 things to do. If I haven't, and it's for me, it's a 25-minute conversation. If I haven't clarified body goals within 7 minutes, I may have a problem.
Okay.
Right? Because it's like, so there's no like, how are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you're.
It's really. So do you basically just cut that person off kind of too? Because I get people that get on and they start talking about their dog running around in the park.
If you don't lead with this, you know, if you don't lead with the agenda and taking the seat of, we've got some things to do here and we've got 25 minutes to get through this, then that happens more. But the more you start with the agenda, I mean, I might chat for like exactly 1 minute, like, oh, I see you're in Jersey. I used to blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, cool. Rapport, right. Like 1 minute. Then it's like, okay, this is our agenda. And I will interrupt them if they're going on. Like, this is our agenda. And we're going to start right off with your core body goals. Usually, again, this is not their first conversation with us. So I will have their notes. I'll often have I'll recap, like, this is what I'm seeing as your body goals. Like, let's clarify and make sure we've got these and find the priority.
Okay.
And so it's very much, I'm taking the seat of the leader.
Yes.
That helps a ton. Okay, what else is in here? Yeah, so like this is an example, like we have an image that goes with that post, so they'll get emailed the agenda too, so that everyone's just on the same page of like, this is what we're here to do. And what we've found is it makes all the difference in anyone having any idea of what we're doing.
Okay.
What stage we're in. Because the other thing that we found is like, even if someone's like hot to trot and they want to be a member of the program, it's like, well, there's certain things that we need to do to make sure that like you're ready.
Yeah.
And otherwise what happens when people go too fast through a sales buying process is there's buyer's remorse. Yeah. And then we have more dropouts later and more admin. And it's like, no. Like, let's just work our process, make sure everything's on the same page. But where it can also help is, say you're here with them and they're in the science emails, you can let them know, like, soon I'm going to be inviting you into a free one-on-one conversation, right? And in that free one-on-one conversation, we're going to figure out exactly what you could be able to change, right? Because that's part of the I can do it stage. Okay, and so then you'd have your agenda with that. And then they're seeing the benefit of showing up even before you've invited them to that.
It's something to look forward to. Like, they're okay.
Yeah, like creates
more value in what you're offering.
Yeah. And so when you have like, okay, after that, then what are they going to need to experience in here? Well, maybe here they need to see that other people have been successful. So there's where you share your member stories.
I have great member stories, yeah.
And that might be in an email, that might be in social media posts, that could be in an interview with a member that, was able to drop a few medications and a few pounds and get their life back. And so you keep thinking of like, what is the person, like, what do they really need to experience? What do they need to believe? What do they need to know in order to become a course member? And wherever a part of the process is broken, what you want to ask yourself is like, what are they believing to be true that needs to change?
Right.
Okie dokie.
Yes, absolutely. So
what I want you to do next is you have the list of people you've been in contact with.
mhm.
I would just create a spreadsheet, like we use Google spreadsheets. Let me see if I can copy page. Okay, I'm gonna copy. And for anyone who's listening to this on the podcast, make sure you go into the show notes to see my incredible artwork that goes with this.
You have
episode.
to.
Otherwise, you won't know what we're talking about. It's much easier to see the visuals on this. Okay, so then what you want to do with your spreadsheet is you just make these. You just make it like this so that you know what stage everyone's at. Right? So say you've got Jane and Dave and Mary, and you've got stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you might find when you first do this, you're like, oh, I have stage 4 and stage 1, but we're missing 2, 3, and 5. Great.
Right.
And then any new person you hear of, you drop them into your spreadsheet. So in YHC in the year 1, like that's your tracker, your YHC tracker, right? Where you're like starting to track your leads. Now you're just evolving that same tracker. So we already have you using a spreadsheet. We already have you getting used to some stages. And now this is just like, okay, you're customizing it. I mean, it's a lot what you guys do in year 1 of yoga health coaching. It's a lot getting your pilot going and doing all the things and coaching the members and doing the body thrive habits. And like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And so by year 2, now you're like, okay, I don't have to teach a pilot for the first time.
Right.
I know the habits. I know what I'm doing. So now it's like, okay, so take that time and plug it into these stages and get a good process around each of those stages. And then when it doesn't work with anyone, it's like, well, what did who you're like, I could, like that person was a good fit, but they didn't enroll. Do you think, well, what was that belief that was stuck? What didn't they experience that they would have needed to experience? And you just go back and you use that to refine the process.
Okay. Right. Which makes, perfect sense. Everybody is different. Everyone's at a different stage, and what didn't work for them, it might be completely different of what didn't work for the other person. And so customizing a general sheet.
Yeah, well, and it's less to me about customization, and it's customizing your process, but it's not customizing it for every person. It's understanding where the process is broken.
Okay, yeah.
And then improving the process based on that.
Okay.
Based on that. And it's not like everybody's a perfect fit. So again, this is like really only for the people that you're like, damn, because I mean, okay, I was Indy got braces yesterday, and I was in a big box store, and there was this woman who, and I don't get out of Dodge much. Like I live at the bottom of a ski hill, and I live on a dead end road, right? So it's like, and I work from home, and if I go to town once or twice a week to do like gymnastics carpool, like if I get out, I go towards the mountains. I don't go towards the people. So I'm an hour and a half away, and the nearest like big little city, it has like a little airport, and it has all the big box stores and all that. So I drop her off, get her braces. I'm in the big box stores, and now I'm like interfacing with chronic inflammation, right? Like,
yeah,
right.
Yes, and you notice it so much more now. I'm like, every one of you, come with me.
Yeah, totally, right. And there's this woman, and it's like almost Easter, and she's like pulling the big box of candy, huge thing that they package in the big box stores, and putting it in her big ass shopping cart, and she's obese, and I'm just like what does she know is optional? Like she's in the cravings, she's given up, and I'm just thinking like her, I'm like, I've given up, who cares anyways? It's Easter, it's time to celebrate. It's and it's for me with her, it's like, okay, it's just right back to here, right? It's like, what are the beliefs? What does she believe? Well, she's given up. Oh, do we have a stage for that? Right? You've already given up. Like maybe that's a lead gen here before someone's even in the funnel, that all they can associate with is their pain and there's no hope. So say I'm trying to target people that have given up hope. That's my core messaging. You know, it's around that. And then it's around rekindling hope and that. And then it's like, well, what are they going to need to believe? She's going to need to believe that other people exactly like her have succeeded. Right. Not that someone has succeeded with someone who looks like me, but like someone that looks like her and thinks and used to think like her has succeeded.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's where, when you go back and you look through this, it's like, oh, I need a little, stage 1. Now, a lot of people might end up with you right in stage 2 or 3, but you would still need a stage 1 for people like her that need to have it, right? And so that's where
you will still have 1 through 6, but each person might have different 1, 2, and no 3 and no, kind of a.
Exactly. So, that's exactly it. Exactly it.
And by tracking creating what stages might be.
Yeah. And then when you have it this way, you don't feel like you're bothering people by following up. You're just like, oh, we're at stage 3. Like, do you know this is the next thing? Like, this is the reason to have a healing session with me, is there's like 3 things that we're going to do. We're going to clarify your body goals. We're going to figure out your healing timeline. We're going to, right? And now there's like, oh, it's not just me bothering someone to follow up. It's like, oh no, I actually care that they get across the finish line.
Yes.
Right. So what do I need to do to help that person just get to the next step? And the next step isn't going to be enrolling in my course, because there's 4 more things they need to do before they're ready for that. Right. And some of you guys are listening like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. And it is work, but there's no way you're going to get people across the finish line unless you have a system for it. At least that's repeatable. And then it actually makes it easier when you're like, oh, it's time to follow my leads, and Jane's done these 3 things and Dave's done these 3 things. And like, exactly what to do. You know exactly what to do next.
Right. I think it makes you become so familiar with your own process that you can just you already are intuitive to what some person needs or what they can skip or what you become once you lay it out and it's in your mind.
Yeah. And I would even say it's like no one's skipping anything. Some people just get through certain parts really fast.
Faster. Yeah.
Yep. Right. And that's what we really try to do, because we're just like, no one skips any steps. What that does too for a lead is it builds a lot of confidence with us in our process. It shows them that we're process driven and that we're not in a rush. We're not trying to get them. We're not trying to get to, we're not trying to get their money as fast as we can. It's like, no, we're going to see we're going to see what's going on. We're going to see if we can help you, if we can, exactly what we're helping you with and exactly what our goals are together. And then if that all makes sense and that all lines up, and if that actually turns out to be a good financial investment for you, then yeah, we'll make you an offer to join us so that we can help you. And it just feels like safe.
Yes. Instead of, some people don't like that salesy feeling. This feels more like this is a process to make you well, or to change for the better within you.
Yeah. And when I see it, like say the end result, so then say they become a member, and say they're a member, like often people are members with us for years, right? So, and in YHC, most of you guys are doing 1 year, but a lot of you also have people who will join again. Is like, this is then their core result of like where they really want to be. Automated body habits that they're anti-aging for the rest of their life. Like, yay. So that's the result that we want, right? If we see that like someone has to go through all of these stages in order to hit that result, then all this stuff that seems like work, it's like, it's just part of getting people to results.
Yes. Exactly.
And I don't actually see much difference, like personally, and maybe that's because I have an established business. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't preference work that comes before the sale to work that comes after the sale. I have no preference. Doesn't matter if I'm creating new lead gens for someone that's lost hope. It doesn't matter if I'm doing a one-on-one conversation. It doesn't matter if I'm doing a coaching session. Like, I just have no preference for, because to me, it's all the work.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all the good work.
It all has different benefits and rewards too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. When someone sees their potential for the first time, that this is optional, that there's people that are just like them, that we've helped lose 80 pounds and get off the sugar train and have fun with their grandkids, and they have 20% of the amount of pain they used to have 10 years. I mean, like they see that, that is, I mean, that's just as exciting as when they've paid me $5,000 to be a Body Thrive member. And, you know,
Yes, I have one member who just went through, she's just finishing her first year, and she went to her routine doctor visit. And after 16 years of having elevated markers, and I think she's on blood pressure medication, her blood markers, everything were completely normal. Her pap smear completely normal, and they took her off the medication. She never even expected that. That wasn't even on her list when she came in.
wow. When she was in your pilot?
Just after when I did my pilot, she was, but then a group right after that when I did.
See, that's that member story, like get a testimonial with her, like get her on, like that's like immediately, and just interview her so that you have that. And then you can use it, because she'll want to, I mean, sometimes when people are shy about it, it's like, if you can just remember when you didn't have hope. And if you care enough for other people that are just like you to hear this, and like, please share your story with us, because I want to help more people have the experience that you just had. And I've never had someone say no to that.
No, I don't think she would either, because she's floored that this is her outcome.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, and that's what's so motivating, right? It's like, and when you think of someone like her too, and you break down that process, because you can do this with anyone you've enrolled too, is you can look back and say like, well, what was my process with them? Because you may have done it intuitively, but now you're saying like, okay, I'm not going to rely on intuition. I'm going to break it into stages. I'm going to break into a reliable process. Yeah, and go through that with like a few of your best clients, you know, that have fit the bill in terms of exactly what you're talking about, had the laundry list of symptoms and the laundry list of meds, and now are just like, oh my gosh, thank gosh, Debbie, you saved my life.
Yeah. I had one member that actually got pregnant after 6 months of being in the course. 4 years of IVF. She was Pitta, everything, corporate world, corporate, blah, blah, the whole list, the whole laundry list. After 6 months, she got pregnant. And she delivers in a couple weeks. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So that, I mean, all that is like, this is the stuff that should be on your social media. It's like a lot of the before. People see so much of the after.
Right.
You know, and it's like really telling the before story when you've given up hope because you've been on IVF for 2 years, or you've given up hope because you've tried all the diets and you still are gaining weight, you know, like that. Yeah. People need that in the beginning to see people like them.
Agree.
Okay, awesome. Rock on, Snyder.
Thank you. I'm ready. Thanks. Stay warm.
I know, right? I'm like, I think it's because I'm in detox mode too. My core temperature is a little bit lower, and it is snowing out.
We just finished our detox, so I'm a couple days out of it. 3 weeks and I'm done.
You look great.
Oh, thank you.
You bet. Okay, good luck.
All right.
Report back.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.